Welcome back to the Zero Weakness Podcast, where we talk about how to be a better lifter, how to be a better coach, and everything in between. Make sure you subscribe and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Zero Weakness Podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Establishment Coffee. Go to establishmentcoffee.com.au, use the code 025 and get 25% off your order and free shipping. Today on the episode, we have a special guest. I'm going to throw it to Kung Fu Henny to introduce him. Let's go, James.
We can call you that now as well because you're back on the gram.
Yeah, I'm back on the gram. I'm back, but a little more mindful.
Yes.
Just a little bit more mindful this time. I just want to welcome a very special guest onto the podcast. Born in Lower Hutt. Is Lower Hutt Wellington?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lower Hutt Wellington, of Māori descent. I saw that, and bro, I didn't realize sorry, I'll continue with the intro. We got Jordan Kahu, played 119 games in the NRL with a career spanning from 2013. Played for the Brisbane Broncos first grade team from 2013 until 2018 before moving to the North Queensland Cowboys. He spent 1 season at North Queensland Cowboys before coming back to the Brisbane Broncos for a season. And then he retired in 2001. Jordan Kahu is a very talented person who runs his very own media company called Chur Media, where he does videography, photography, all things media related. He does campaigns for Call of Duty. Who else have you done campaigns for? You've done lots of them.
Yeah, lots.
He's very talented, and he's also in the midst of opening up a gym. So welcome on the podcast, Jordan, and thanks for coming through.
Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I think you said I retired in 2001.
Yeah, I heard that too.
But, yeah, my bad.
But I'm
2021.
Not that old.
You also scored 555 points in the NRL with 119 of those coming from tries and 149 goals.
Ooh,
also with 5 field goals as well.
Yeah, 5. I didn't miss one.
Yeah. Can you remember what was your most iconic field goal out of those 5?
We played in I think it was like a prelim semi against Penrith, and one of them was in that game, and that was probably the most memorable. I kicked one off my left as well. That was another one that was pretty cool, but I actually stuffed up in that game that kind of overshadowed the left foot field goal. So I copped it in the news for my stuff up rather than my bad foot field goal.
You're just for those listening who aren't really familiar with rugby league, you are to be the guy that takes a field goal. You're clutch. You got to be the guy that saves the day. So Jordan Kahu's that guy.
Yeah, it kind of just got thrown to me. We lost the big grand final in 2015. And after that, I said to the coach, I'm taking the field goals from now on because I was sick of seeing my halfbacks miss them. So I said from that moment on, pass me the ball.
Who was your halfback at the time?
Ben Hunt and Anthony Milford, but they just couldn't kick a field goal at the time, eh? So I stepped in and backed myself. And
There's the call out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bro, Milfie and Hunt actually listen to this podcast.
Do they?
No.
That's all right. They know what happened. There's no lies in that. But it was more. I was so filthy that we lost that grand final, and I was just like, I'll take all that pressure, and I want the ball in my hands when it comes to crunch time.
That's cool.
It's a very painful memory.
Yeah.
Grand final.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was a tough time. I don't think I've fully watched the game. There's so many bits that I've forgotten about it that I've just, it feels like a blur. Obviously, I know what happened, but I can't really remember what I was thinking or where I was at that point in time. But on the field, and I don't think I really want to watch it again. To be honest, I know what happens.
I haven't watched this.
It's like watching a bad movie, and you already know what happens at the end. The good person always dies.
Worst.
Yeah.
So take us back to the start, man. How did you get from being in Lower Hutt, Wellington, to the NRL?
So I was a union boy growing up, so I always wanted to be an All Black, and my whole life that was my whole dream. I never got in trouble as a kid because I knew I wanted to be an All Black. I knew that would taint that dream. So I was training before school. I was just a super driven kid. I knew what I wanted. I got to a high school in Wellington, and I was quite young in the school first 15, and I was dropping in and out of the first 15. And there was this one tournament where I sat on the bench pretty much the whole tournament. I think I played 2 or 3 minutes. the whole tournament, and I was just fed up. And I was just a young kid wanting to play, and that was kind of the leap into rugby league, and that's where I started playing league. I jumped in a few tournaments here and there and just loved it. I was just, I think I was 15 playing footy again, and I really enjoyed it. And then next thing you know, I was, on the plane to Australia with a scholarship to a school here on the Gold Coast, and I finished high school over here, and then pretty much as soon as I finished high school was straight into the Broncos system. So that's the short version of it anyway.
It's so you went straight from what? It was a school in Petone that you went to, was it?
So no, I started at Hutt Valley High School, and then I moved to Wellington College to just because it was a better rugby school. Yeah.
So you went from Wellington College to Keebra Park. Yep. So for those of you listening, Keebra Park is a very famous rugby league school with lots of superstars that they've produced a lot of NRL players here in Queensland.
Yeah.
So at that time when you were at Keebra, were there any other notable players that were there at the same time as you?
We had a couple of boys transition into the NRL. Benny Murdoch, Isaac Liu. Who else did we have?
Corey Norman was the year below you?
Yeah, he was the year before that. We actually had a better team the year before. At the time, we had lots of different rep players in our team, but we didn't do anything. But yeah, the 09 year, we just had a super driven team. And a lot of us, or 3 or 4 of us made it to the NRL after that, and it just kind of showed the caliber of the team that year.
Yeah, well.
And so the move from New Zealand to Australia is a pretty serious move, right? Did you come up by yourself? Did you have family here, or did your whole family move as part of that?
So I knew for about 6 months that I was moving over. I was meant to come over by myself, and a lot of boys, when they're moving over, they get put into a homestay with a lot of other boys, and there's kind of a family that looks after them. So I was going to go into one of those, but just before I left, my parents split, and my dad was pretty much just like, oh, I'm going to come over with you now. And then my brother was also like, oh, I'm not staying here if you guys are going over. So he came over as well. So it went from me going over by myself to having my dad and my brother there. And it was a super tough time just leaving home. I was super homesick all the time. I was with my fiance now, Jess, at the time as well, and leaving her behind and my mum behind was tough. But I was pretty lucky that I had my dad and my brother there as well to, make me less homesick, I guess.
So I mentioned before in the intro that you played 119 games in the NRL. So that was across a 9-year career. During those 9 years, you had a few. It's fair to say that you're quite riddled with injury. I saw that in your 2 years in the Toyota Cup as well. You had a couple injuries too. How is that coming back from each injury, and what's that journey look like? What does it look like for your mental health? What does it look like for your family? What does it look like for yourself, knowing that, fuck, this is how I make my bread?
At the beginning, I didn't deal with that at all professionally. I was 19 when I did my first ACL, and I was out every weekend partying still, and I just didn't understand the work that was involved to get me back to where I wanted to be, which was in the NRL. And just a lot of things that it was kind of a year of learning. I stuffed up that many times that the following year I actually tore my ACL again at the start of the year. So that time round I was just like, I'm not doing anything I did last year. I think I had nearly probably 6 to 8 months off the purse. And I was still living on the Gold Coast at the time, and I was training in Brisbane every morning and coming back and training on the Gold Coast, and I was just doing that as hard as I can. And I think the older I got, the less effect injuries had on me mentally. And obviously when I had my kids, when I got hurt, it just kind of, they helped me through a lot of hard times, because it was just like injuries was just so little to them, and they didn't really care. They just wanted me to be a happy dad, and they got me through, a lot of injuries late in my career that, if I didn't have them, then I would have been super kind of depressed and angry about it a bit more.
So you retired in 2021. Leading into that, obviously we had COVID, and you guys got put in your bubbles and everything like that. Was that a part of what tipped you over the edge to go towards a retirement, or was it on your mind leading into that? Like, what were the steps that sort of ticked in your head to be like, you know what, it's my time to leave?
Yeah, it was a lot of different things that kind of happened. 2020 we were in the bubble the whole year. I couldn't do anything but go to the petrol station. That was pretty much it. And we also had my youngest end of that year. And then I was injured that year, came back. We were like bottom of the ladder. I played 2 games and then I got dropped again. And I was just like, what's the point of being in this bubble all year for me to work my butt off, come back from injury just to be dropped? It was like a super draining year that year. And it just kind of took it all out of me. And after that, I didn't really want to move anywhere else. The world was crazy with COVID, obviously, and I didn't want to go overseas with a newborn. If I did go overseas, it would have been just me, and I didn't want to do that. So the Brisbane Broncos didn't want me, and I reached out to the Titans, and they didn't get back to me. So I was just like, I wanted to stay in Queensland. I wanted to stay either in Brisbane or the Gold Coast, and those weren't any options. So I was just like, I'm just gonna. I've had my time, and that's kind of where I, drew the line.
It's it's really weird. It seems like the direction the game's going in is, they're really trying to push the younger generation of players. Kind of like the NBA. You'll notice in the NBA, there's it's a very young league now, where there used to be each team had a lot of veterans.
Yeah.
They had a lot of players over the age of 30s, and I feel like the NRL's heading in the same direction. They're trying to build around new talent. With someone like yourself, who, even though you were at the time, 30 years old, you still had you had 119 games in the NRL. Your body was still relatively fresh. You still had a lot of you could have still gave the game a lot, and it's very noticeable. Or if you watch the game closely, you were a good competitor. You're very tough. So it used to baffle me, and me and my other friends would talk about it. Like, how come you don't want to sign this guy? He can play fullback, he can play wing, he can play 6. He's a good defender. He can run the ball. He's tough. He's a goal kicker, and like you said before, you're clutch, more clutch than Benny Hunt and Anthony Milford. But you know what I mean? It was a very weird scenario, and you see it a lot now. Lots of really good players in the NRL not getting contracts. Like we spoke about when Alex was on the podcast, we spoke about Corey Norman. Like he's still had a lot to give to the game. He could have really got a contract anywhere, but
yeah,
it
is definitely like that. I think I probably feel the same way. When I got told that I was getting dropped in the 2020 year, I literally got told that they just wanted to give the younger boys experience, and they didn't really care if we lost any more games. And being a proud Bronco and a person who's bled for that jersey, it was just a real hard thing to hear at the time. And I was just like, you're literally willing to throw the season just to blood these young guys. And I guess it's kind of paying off now with the performances that they've been thrown up. But at the time, I was just, I was pretty devastated, and I didn't want the Broncos to get the wooden spoon, and we got it. So I don't know. It's kind of paying off what those decisions that they made that time. But being a proud Bronco, I didn't want to let that happen.
It is very gut-wrenching for Broncos fans, seeing that the worst team in Queensland at the time were the Broncos, which is unheard of in previous years. And yourself being part of arguably one of the greatest Broncos sides in history, that would be a very, very painful thing to process.
Yeah, bro, it was definitely pretty tough. And I actually left the bubble that day, and they came out and said that I was dropped because of COVID, and I was just like, this is their way of getting out of dropping me, pretty much. So it was a draining year. That whole year was just super tough, and that was just kind of the last straw to finally break me that year.
What did that impact have on your family? Like, you had you've got your beautiful fiance, you've got your Jayla and Jude, and then you got your newborn as well. What was that like?
I think it was more tough on Jess. I'm super content with being at home. And obviously behind closed doors, no one really knew. We were meant to be in a room by ourselves, fully isolated away from the family as well. But behind closed doors, they didn't know what was happening. And just Jess being heavily pregnant, she had to do all the school runs, had to go to do all the supermarket trips, literally do everything while I sat at home. And did nothing pretty much just because. But it was super tough on her, and it was kind of a good thing the way things happened, because as soon as I exited the bubble, it was just like a breath of fresh air, and we fully prepared for Jax's birth, and if I was still in the bubble, it was going to be a super hard process to go through. I was going to have to, I think I was going to have to stand at the back of the room and wear all this medical kit. I wasn't allowed to approach Jess or touch Jess, and all this other these little things that would have made the birth experience for Jess a nightmare. And when she's had all of our kids, the only person she's wanted in the room was me, and that would have been a super tough time if I wasn't there. So it was kind of breath of fresh air knowing that I could be there for the birth of our latest.
Look, 'cause obviously, we're very unfamiliar with what happens at every level of professional sport. What's the dynamic like in a situation like that after it happens? So, like, after it's done, you've left the bubble, you dropped. Is that it? Are they just like, okay, we don't talk to this guy anymore? You never hear from them again? Or is there some, like, ongoing communication? Do you get invited to the equivalent of alumni events? Like, what does it look like?
Yeah, so when I left the bubble, I was touching base I think there was only 3 or 4 games left in the season. And I was touching base every Sunday asking if they wanted me in that week. And I said I'd only come back if I was playing. Like, I'm not coming back for any other reason.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, pretty much that was it pretty much until we had our end of year ball. And then, yeah, basically nothing, literally nothing. I went in for my medical, and that was pretty much it. Yeah, there was kind of no contact at all since.
Sorry, who do you communicate with? Do you talk directly to the coach?
Well, that was the year our coach got sacked and Kevin Walters was coming in, so he actually didn't really have much communication with anyone. So, there was, you speak to the coach, and then for my medicals, I was speaking to the physio, and then for the ball, I was just speaking to the staff that organised those events.
Yeah, it sounds pretty disconnected. What about the player aspect? Like, obviously, you're on a team and you had friends. I assume you're friendly with the players. Was it hard to walk away from that?
Yeah, it was. It was just weird because I was trying to stay at the time. So I was telling the boys. I'd been given some words from Kevy that he was keen on keeping me. And so I told the boys, I'm going to try and stick around. Like, I want to stay here and get this club back to where it should be. And, that was pretty much it. Like, we obviously caught up at the ball, and then you kind of speak to your close mates, and then, that's pretty much it. And then, like the rest of the club, it kind of just, it's just like nothing. It's weird.
Is it, do you hold any animosity towards the Broncos organization?
I did at the beginning. But if I held on to that for too long, then I wouldn't have built what I've built over the last couple of years. And I was super sour just because I just wanted a phone call. Like, that was all I wanted. I just wanted a phone call because I'd been told that I was wanted, and then I literally my calls just were never called back. I was trying to call the coach and be like, just ask. I just wanted confirmation. Jess and the kids stayed in Brisbane for an extra 2 months than we should have. I was just literally waiting for a phone call back to just say yes or no, and not getting either. Like, I would have been happy if I got a phone call back and just say, sorry, we don't want you. I would have been fine with that. And it took me a while to get over that. Just off the back of what I'd done for the club and how long I've been there, I think I earned that, and I deserved that much, and that was probably the hardest thing to get over. And it was kind of a big, learning curve for me. I just, I've stopped expecting things from others, that, sometimes in life it's just you and your family that you got to look after. And from now on, or from then on, I kind of have just been treating life that way, to be honest.
Kind of makes me concerned for the young kids on the team coming through the teams, anyone who exits because obviously you've been in the club for a while and you're mature by that point. You're an adult with a family. You're clearly driven and intelligent. Like, these kids that are 21, 22, if they get knocked off the team or kicked out or do something stupid, no support whatsoever. It's no wonder, where they end up if they've got no support.
Yeah,
it makes me. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is. I've had a bit of contact with the NRL, but None from the Bronx whatsoever. But I guess they do keep a lot of contact for people that are going straight back into working for the club, and that's probably the only the only time that happens. But apart from that, it's pretty much thanks and see you later.
Because while you were injured and during the bubble, you're taking some photos and you're still like a part of the team quite heavily.
Yeah, so I had shoulder surgery at the end of the year before, so I was coming back from that, and they gave me the option at the start of the year whether I wanted to stay in the bubble or train outside the bubble. So I could do pretty much everything I wanted, and I all I had to do was just train outside the bubble. But I was just like, I want to be a part of the team. That's just unfair. A couple of the boys took the other option, and I was just, I was keen to be around the boys every day. So I sacrificed that life, and I was definitely a part of the team. But it was a tough year.
I still remember you rehabbing your shoulder injury. That was, I think, one of our first training sessions together, and we did one of Tezzy's classes.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and you're on the air bike with one arm, swinging a kettlebell around with one arm.
Yeah.
It's quite inspiring to see. That was cool. But so yeah, now that we've talked about your footy career, what does life look like now for Jordan Kahu? What are you doing now? What are you up to?
So yeah, at the end of 2020, when I finished, I just dove into my passion, which was videography, and I already had that passion there while I was playing, and kind of just dove into it and just went head into everything, and was just saying yes to every job, and now I've just I've built a good client base where they continuously book me, and there's been a lot of different opportunities here and there, and I've been just super grateful for the people that I've come across in the last 2 years that are willing to hire me and value my work, and it's been such a pleasing journey to kind of be appreciated for once. It's super I'm super grateful for where life is at the moment, and I've got some TV show stuff happening in Sky Sport New Zealand, and the league show's actually been bought by Fox Sports, so it'll be aired in Australia now. And yeah, apart from Chur Media, the league show, I've been opening a gym, and hopefully early September, which is pretty good. So a lot of different things happening, and still a bit of gaming as well, and my social media influencing stuff as well. So I've got a finger in everything at the moment, and it's been it's good because it keeps life interesting and super hard to juggle sometimes. But it's just I think I'd get kind of bored if I was just doing one thing and sticking to that.
So I don't know if any of you guys have seen Jordan Kahu's work. It's actually, CJ, you're a videographer, so you'd be able to rate it pretty highly, or you understand what's going on. Yep. You understand the effort that goes into it. But I watch your stuff and I'm like, that's fucking nuts. Like some of your edits are crazy, like
Thank
all
you,
the
bro.
Call of Duty stuff that you do. So you've obviously done collaborations with the PlayStation, Call of Duty. Who else have you done work with?
I've been doing some work with Sony at the moment, which is like super rewarding because I've just kind of, like I said, I dove into it, and Sony's been a company I've wanted to work with for ages, and I kind of been working with PlayStation for a bit for the gaming stuff. But when they reached out to me and asked me to send me some stuff, and I thought it was going to be like, I don't know, maybe a TV or something, but they were keen to send me some cameras and stuff, and I was just like, it was like getting my first pair of boots when I first started playing footy. I was just like a little kid again, and just like, is this really happening? A company that I already enjoy using wants to work with me and send me gear that I'd probably buy anyway.
Yeah.
Well, hang on a sec. What do you mean just Sony reaches out? Like, how did you get onto filming stuff for Call of Duty? It's not like you just picked up a camera and you're like, hey guys, if you need a hand, I'm here. Like,
Right,
how does this even happen?
I don't know. I think I've always valued, I've always, kind of wanted to, I've done a lot of social influencing like stuff when I was playing. So a lot of collaboration work when I was playing. I was just always was keen to push that high quality stuff, and a lot of the other players weren't doing it, and I wanted to be that one that kind of changed the game and was creating content that was good and engaging for my following, but also rewarding for the companies that were booking me. I didn't want to send them, my thumbs up and standing in front of their product or something like that. I wanted to be super creative with it, and I think brands started seeing that, and just started wanting to hire me for that. So that's kind of where it happened. And I just kept doing it. And then, obviously the more I done it, brands were starting to notice it. And then that's kind of how all the PlayStation and Sony and stuff all come about.
Yeah, sick. CJ, let's hit up Xbox.
Set up Xbox.
Wait, you know how you just said standing with their product with a thumbs up? That's a classic footy one, eh?
Bro,
I'd like to thank Puma for the shoes.
yeah, man.
A little bit of effort, a bit of energy.
And like those boys, some of those footy players, they get paid thousands just to do that.
Yeah.
And I picture it like I want to shoot the content for them for not only my page, but I want to shoot it good enough for them to be like, hey, can you send us that video so we can post it to our socials and whatever as well. So I've always had that kind of mindset when I'm creating something for a company that's booked me.
So you're self-taught as well?
Yeah, all YouTube hours, and I'd hate to see how many hours I've watched of YouTube, but all
Really?
YouTube, yeah.
Because I remember I bought that camera that gets, I've probably clicked the button maybe 20 times.
Yep.
What camera did I get?
An M50.
Yeah, I bought an M50. Remember, I messaged you. We're going to go shoot together. You're going to show me the ropes, but I never we never did it. But I would have been wasting your time anyway.
That's so cool. I host another podcast, Peak Speak, check it out. I host another powerlifting podcast, and the guy that edits that for us, he just had the same experience. Canon reached out to him, and they started sending him cameras to test and everything. So he was super giddy. So I can imagine what it's like to receive the Sony stuff. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was so cool.
What'd you get? Did you get like Sony A7?
I got a FX3 and a 50mm 1.2, which is like the nicest lens.
Oh,
That's like
If you don't
$7,000
make
worth of
cameras.
gear.
yeah, great aperture on that one.
I'll show you.
You're not
I'll
even
show you
wrong.
my Sony camera before you leave. CJ's seen it. It's sick.
Yeah.
What is it?
No, you don't. Do you have a Sony camera?
Yeah, like the VX3000 thing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that was.
It's from like 15 years ago. It was sick 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? Like, we always talk about it. Back in the day, I used to try film shit for Thomas.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, yeah, this is sweet. And Thomas was like, nah, that's not really good, bro. I'm like, fuck, what's wrong with it? And then I'd see CJ's work and be like, holy shit. You can actually see his face. Like, what did I do so wrong? Like, it's such an art and I love it.
Yeah, it is. It's a super like growing industry, and I feel like it's more accessible every day as phones get better, and obviously, companies are competing with each other and trying to release better cameras for cheaper and stuff like that. So it's good because everyone's like art. Obviously, everyone sees stuff a lot different, sees colors differently. So it's why it's so cool, and seeing people the way they create and make a video or edit a picture and stuff like that. Yeah, it's just like art, and you can kind of just appreciate, it is like what it is for what it is.
I love seeing how content creators connect, like when they're really into videography. Like CJ, I saw your comment on Donny Buziotis' thing. It's like that depth of field.
Yeah.
We're all the same though. We do it in everything else.
Yeah.
Like you'd comment on a runner and be like, "Oh, bro, your stride's looking real good."
Yeah, bro. Actual.
We get it. You're good with a camera.
Yeah.
Have you always had that creative eye?
Yeah, I just kind of hid it away for so long. I started vlogging in 2017, and I was the first NRL player to do it. And
You were the first,
Yeah.
hands down.
Yeah, and I stopped doing it. Like I have so many other vlogs that I could have like edited and released, but I was so worried. Like a lot of the boys I was playing with at the time were a lot like real old mindset, like what the fuck, you got a camera here and shit like that. And I was just super worried about what they said. And then I don't know, something just switched over me where I was like, fuck them. And then I just started taking a camera everywhere, and then it started being like, bro, you got a camera again? And then I was like, you got a camera again? And then like a couple years down the track, I was like, bro, can you film this thing for me? Like, can you do this for me?
Changed.
Like started asking me more questions about the camera. But yeah, I've always been into art. I've always been like super, like I've had a crazy imagination. I always think of stories to tell and stuff like that. So yeah, once I got to that point where I just didn't give a fuck about what the boys said in the change rooms, I kind of just gave it a crack.
Do you think there's any link between your creative mindset and your performance on the field? Because I see creativity as like problem solving, like seeing things from a different perspective, seeing things from angles that other people can't see or the average person can't see, and then being able to act quickly on that. Do you feel like that contributed to your game?
Yeah, maybe. I think that's why I was maybe so versatile, because, you know, I did see the game from a different perspective, and I could play, you know, lots of different positions. And yeah, I guess it did have a little bit of effect on that. And I was never, that's pretty much how I am now. I was never keen to just be good at one position. I always wanted to be good at every position, you know. And if I was always chucked there, I was, you know, the best center. If I was chucked a fullback, I was the best fullback, you know. So I guess it did kind of rub off a little bit in my footy career.
Yeah, sick.
I was going to say, like we were talking about before when I said the positions I rattled off, I just wanted to say about how you're a really tough competitor. You've always been a really good defender. What's that like? What's that like going onto the field and, you know, knowing that, because if you're playing center, you know, someone like Greg Inglis is running your line. What's that like heading into a game? Do you overthink situations like that? Like Lexi, when he was on the pod, he was telling us a story where fucking GI threw him into another realm, like you know, the big fend out in front of him. And what's that like?
So you always, like, depending on what position you're playing, you kind of always did your research on the opposing player, and depending on who it was, if they're like going good, you obviously wanted to, you know, try and contain them as much as you could. Or if they're like, you know, they're not having, you know, a good couple of weeks, you kind of never know how they're going to come out against you. So it was always intimidating, you know. I think my second or third game I marked GI, and he did the same thing to me. He like he just had that knack of, like, if he wanted to do something, he'd just do it, you know, like depending on how fatigued he was or not. And I just remember he ran at me, and I was already like shitting myself. I was like, I'm gonna miss this tackle. I'm missing this for sure. And then he just literally like grabbed me in the chest and like kind of grabbed my jersey and just like sat me down, like just like sat me down like that. And I like literally sat on my bum. I was like, holy sh. But then I think, once stuff like that always happens in the game, I was speaking to, we had this life coach that used to come in all the time, and there's different type of thinkers with footy players, and I was always one that would, if the high ball went up, I was like always like, I'm gonna drop it. And I said to him, like, is that a bad mindset to have? And he was like, no, because like those are little triggers for you to remember to do things properly. So I started like thinking that and appreciating that way that I was thinking. And, you know, if I was coming up against a good center, I always, in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm missing this, but that would trigger me thinking of like my research throughout that week of like, he steps off his left foot, he's got a right arm fend, and that was kind of like my trigger in my head, like, I'm gonna miss this tackle, but I'd end up making it, and I'd be like, okay, sweet, I got this, you know, like, and that was kind of everything, like even with goal kicking, I was always thinking, I'm gonna miss this, but then that led me back into, you know, my whole procedure and routine of like doing this, and then I'd end up kicking it, and then that was kind of always my mindset. It was like kind of negative in a way, but it always turned out positively, which was pretty crazy.
I was just going to say, do you feel that way about your videography? Do you look at a video and be like, this isn't good enough, I can't put this out, and then do you have to sort of overcome that and be like, nah, just do it?
Yeah, definitely, all the time. I think a lot of people with, you know, creative mindsets think like that, because they think their ideas are always not going to be cool for other people. And I think that's there's a saying that if you want to crush an idea, tell it to a small-minded person or something like that. And I think, once you kind of jump over that barrier and you're passionate about something, and you know that you're second guessing it, then I think that's probably a good thing to, you know, kind of just follow through with it, because if you're second guessing it, that means you want it to be better, and you're only going to get better if you're second guessing your own work. You're only going to get better.
Has it been difficult to find the balance? Because you're right? Like lots of people are driven by a negative mindset in terms of this isn't good enough, I can do better than this, and that drives them to be better. But some people, that turns them off completely. They say I'm not good enough, and then they just fall off the face of the earth of that industry or that pursuit. Have you found it difficult to find the balance between telling yourself you can't do something or you're not good enough at this thing, but then just being like, nah, I just got to do it anyway, or realizing that you are good enough at it?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever like realized I was good at something. I think I've like going back to that mindset I've had. I've always, every time I post anything, I'm just like, this isn't good enough, and this isn't good enough. But yeah, I think I've just kind of gotten over the fact that I think I'm always going to be like partly like a little bit perfectionist on a lot of my stuff, and it's never going to be okay for me. And in a lot of the video work, obviously, because I watch it over and over and over and over, and by the, I don't know, 100th time I watch it, I'm like, this is so shit. But, you know, I've got to remember that people are watching it for the first time, and they're going to really appreciate it. So that's kind of, yeah, like every time, like editing weddings is probably the time I think about that the most. I'm like, I get to the end of the wedding, I'm like, I just butchered someone's wedding, you know, it's so shit.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with this shot, not happy with this, not happy with the audio. And I send it to them, and they're like, oh my God, like we're crying, you know, this is the best like ever. We couldn't ask for anything more. And you're just like, oh shit, it mustn't have been that bad then, you know. That's kind of, yeah, I've just kind of had to teach myself to kind of get over that. And I guess it's just a good trait to have to keep getting better.
It's any form of art, you know, like videography, photography, anything that's like an expression of your creativity. It's it's very subjective.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
you know, because it's art's being put out there, people are judging it like right from the get go.
Yeah.
And when it's good, quite often people don't say anything at all because, you know, yeah, it's good. It's Jordan Kahu. He always does good shit. Yeah. You know, we're all guilty of it. When I see your work, I never like, I should probably do it more. I should be like, fuck, that's mad. You know, give it a wee comment and, you know, help the algorithm out. But to me, I'm just like, Jordan's the man at like videography. Like to me, that's normal now. But also just talking about, you know, where things are so subjective, being a footy player, being in the limelight, how's that like? What's that like dealing with the scrutiny, especially when you were at the Broncos during the tough times and things like that, being riddled by injury? Yeah. How do you handle that? Because we all know that the media, NRL media, and the talk shows, and there's certain people in the industry that aren't the nicest people. Like, how do you deal with that?
I think I was kind of lucky, but like unlucky at the same time. I went through a period where, you know, like I played before social media, and then I went to where, like, through the period of when social media first came out, and then social media at its height, like within, you know, the game. Like these players now, they don't know any different to what trolls are like. There was no trolls back when I first started. Like no one had that access. So I was kind of, kind of lucky that I got to transition through that period and learn over time what it was going to be like. But yeah, like anything, if you're doing something, there's always going to be, you know, someone that disagrees with you or thinks that they're better than you and all this kind of stuff. And there has been times where I struggled with it, and that kind of just came with the process of, you know, I don't know, just I guess like I was lucky I had Jess there with me. You know, me and Jess, I'd always show her a message someone would send me, and she would get more angrier than I would. So it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm not showing you any more messages. But yeah, I got to a point where I kind of wasn't bothered by what other people thought about me anymore. It was probably that moment where I started vlogging. It was just, there's always going to be someone that disagrees with you, and there's always going to be fans that are upset. And the amount of times, you know, like that I got, you know, you ruined my super coach or you ruined my multi, and I was like, fuck, I do not care, eh?
You're the one who put the bet on.
Yeah,
You're gambling.
No, you fucking should have put it on someone else. But yeah, I've got to a point. I got to a point where I wasn't bothered by anything and just didn't let it faze me. And if I seen a bad message come through social media, I just blocked them straight away. And I'm super good with faces. I'd always suss their face out, like on their little profile pic on their private page. I'd always suss it out and study it. And then, so if I ever seen them in public, I'd know who they were. Because if a couple of times, you know, like I'd get sprayed, and then, you know, a couple of days later they come and ask for a photo or something like that. And then I would always get the photos, but I'd always be cheeky about it and be like, oh, hey, didn't you say this about me? And then like they were like, oh yeah, but and I was like, but yeah, like I never.
That's most satisfying.
Yeah. And I've just always had that like memory with people's faces. So yeah, I was just super nice to them, and they couldn't really do much else about it, to be honest.
True, kill them with kindness.
Yeah, definitely. I think people are just wanting a reaction out of people, and yeah, if you kill them with kindness, then it just hurts their ego even more.
What with the young kids coming up in this age, obviously social media can quickly give them an inflated inflated sense of self-importance, and you were more mature by the time that came in, and you've obviously got a really mature attitude. Do you think now, again, with all these young people coming through, that social media is playing a net positive or a net negative?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. It's hard because you can get a lot of good support, and that sometimes can be bad for your performances and your mental health, because if you're getting too many pats on the back, then you think you're doing a good job when you actually aren't. And I feel like on both sides of the spectrum, you can get sprayed, but then you can use that as motivation as well. So it just depends how you use it. I think if a lot of players, probably are enjoying the amount of followers they're getting, and I think if they can turn those followers into opportunities, which I tried to do in the back end of my career, I wasn't so much worried about how many followers I had, but I wanted to grow an online community that really wanted to stick with me, and if I ever I started selling merch and a lot of people bought it, and I think if players kind of had that mindset and more of a business mindset rather than a clout mindset, then they'd be in a good place, and just to keep their circle small. No one on social media is gonna tell you the actual truth. I think if you had your good circle that were gonna tell you how things are, and you shouldn't really be worried about what's happening on social media.
You've always been about that. Like I've only known you since 2019, but you've always been really down to earth. You've had the same group of friends. You're just a really genuine guy. And just speaking about the media, the apparel stuff that you're doing, the true media stuff, it's cool to see NBA players rocking your gear as well down the walkway. That's cool. So CJ, like Joe Ingles, Utah Jazz. Well, he actually just signed a contract with, who's he gone to?
Bucks.
Yeah, he's gone to the Bucks.
Bucks, yeah.
But he had him rocking his gear in the tunnel.
Oh, let's go.
And who else? Patty Mills?
Yeah, Patty. So Patty was the Patty hit me up. Because he's a big Bronx fan, so I've met him a few times, and every time he comes back to Oz, we always catch up. But when he seen that I was dropping merch, he was like, "Bro, send me some merch."
Man.
And then he just sent me like all these photos. Like they've obviously got dope photographers, but he just sent me like one random day. I wasn't expecting anything of it. I never pestered him. I was just like, here's the stuff. I think he might have even paid for it as well. So I can't even remember, but I just didn't send him extra. And he sent me all these photos of him in the tunnel and stuff. And he's like, go check out the Spurs page. And it was like on the Spurs like homepage of him wearing my cheer gears and stuff like that. And bro, I was just super grateful. And then I think I reshared it to my story. And I done some work for like a movement Paddy was doing after all the Black Lives Matter kind of stuff happened. We're doing a movement here in Australia within sport, and Joey Ingles was a part of that. And he messaged me after seeing Paddy's post, and we're like, "Bro, where's mine?" And then so I sent him a bunch of stuff, and the same thing. Like I didn't expect anything of it. And then same thing, he sent me back all these photos, like how they're walking into games of wearing my hoodie, and then I was buzzing.
That's cool. That's like it's one of my favorite pages to follow. I follow NBA Fits.
Yeah.
And I get lots of like style inspo from that page. It's just dudes walking down the tunnel, like looking cool before games.
Yeah. We'll send LeBron some Zero gear.
Yeah. Remember when I edited that photo of LeBron and I put it on the social media page? Ages ago. It might have been when I first started.
No.
And you were like, bro, what the fuck is that?
What was it?
I found a photo of LeBron on the internet wearing just a white tee. And I put a Zero logo on it, and I was like, new Zero merch dropping now. It might have been like 3 years ago, but it was funny.
Awesome.
So many people messaged me, they're like, bro, that's the shittest Photoshop I've ever seen. This is when I didn't even know how to remove a background from an image. So it was like a white square with the logo. And it was really funny. But
That's sick.
where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So the tunnel photos. You started doing that at the Broncos. That was cool. You had like Jesse Arthurs, a few boys. Did you get in trouble for that?
Yeah, so we got, what happened? So we called it the drip.
Yeah, that's right.
Drip season. And then I was just, literally, and the boys were, because we were in the bubble, we're like, fuck, we'll start rocking up in like cool fits and stuff like that. And we had this long tunnel at the Bronx facility, which is hectic. And the boys were just walking through that tunnel, and I was just, I had the camera. And then first day, I think it was just Alex. And then second day there was like 2 or 3, and then like one of the days there was like 5 or 6 of them, and the club was like, you can't be doing that, and we're like, what's the problem? Like, then because a lot of the IP problems is when there's a Broncos brand in the photos, and they always say that there's like sponsors have complained and stuff like that, but we're like, there's literally nothing to complain about, because if we're outside, like they couldn't say anything. And then we ended up getting around it. They were all good with it, and then we just kept doing it. And then a lot of the different clubs started doing it, and started putting up their own ones of like their own fits, walking into trainings and stuff. And then it kind of just went around the NRL. A few teams done it, and then I think one of the AFL teams done it. And yeah, it was just a cool thing to kind of like float around and be a part of when, you know, we all were living in the same conditions. It was just kind of cool to, you know, see another team, like see their fit, and like a lot of the boys dressing up in like full blown suits and stuff like that, which was pretty sick.
It's cool because the NBA, you know, they allow the NBA players to really be themselves.
Yeah.
But they're also so cashed up that if they get a $50,000 fine for saying something bad on the TV, they don't give a fuck. They're like, yeah, sweet, pay it. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you know, Kobe Bryant used to pay all of Matt Barnes' fines. So when Matt Barnes would step in and arc up for Kobe, Matt Barnes didn't care because he knew Kobe was going to pay his fines. But the NRL, you know, they put pretty big penalties up, and the wage comparison is quite a little bit different compared to NRL players.
Yeah, it'd be sick if they had one round a year, and the boys. It's good for the guys' brands as well, because, you know, like brands are gonna want to send players clothes if they know they're gonna get something out of it. And I feel like if one round a year they just let the boys rock up to games, like home games in their own kit, where that could kind of happen, that'd be sick. I don't know if they can support some kind of charity, but it'd be cool. I know the fans would definitely love it. Sponsors obviously aren't too happy because they don't get their 5 seconds on, you know, on a walk-in into a game. But yeah, usually everyone's in the same kit, and yeah, it's just kind of you're overseeing it. But if there's one round a year, you know, if they supported a charity and the boys got to rock up, it's good for kind of everyone, I guess.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a weird thing, you know, with sponsors aren't happy in that. It's like, if a player's not wearing the ASICS polo or whoever they're sponsored by right now before a game, it's not like, to me, that doesn't do anything. I don't look at that polo and go, oh, ASICS. Yeah. Or, what's that garage thing?
National Storage.
National Storage. I've never once been inspired by advertising on a jersey.
Nah. So yeah.
That's immeasurable. It's brand awareness campaigns.
Yeah.
You then recognize it when you're driving around, and then maybe one day you'll need it. Like, they can't measure it.
Yeah.
And the brands get pissed off because they're like, we've paid for this space, and then they have a contract that dictates it. Do you ever get it the other way around? Like, you know, your primary school mate from Lower Hutt being, oh, hey, cuzzy, I've just started a clothing brand. Can you wear it, please?
Right. Yeah. So many. I think a lot of people are kind of now like super respectful about my space on social media, especially because, you know, that is one of my work incomes, you know. A lot of, you know, brands pay me some money to promote their stuff. So I think, well, a lot of my close friends are kind of respectful of that, and you don't really ask for kind of anything, you know, for free. But I'm always keen to support, you know, like people I'm close to, and I'm never shy to post someone else's business because I know how hard it is to start. And I'm always keen to help the little man.
Yeah,
it's you just reminded me. So me and my buddy back in the day, we used to run this. I'm not gonna share it because it's still live. The website's still live. I don't want anyone to see it. We ran this like men's lifestyle fashion blog kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I remember. So the first thing we got was like we got $100 vouchers from Cotton On. They gave us some vouchers. And then we got some stuff from TK Maxx. And then this brand with like plain up t-shirts. They were like real low scoop neck. And my bro was like, yeah, let's do this. I'm like, nah, hell no. I am not wearing that. Like, I don't have the pics for that either. And but he was so keen. But I was like, I can't wear that, bro. We're not doing that. He's like, nah, man, they gave it to us for free. We have to. I'm like, nah, brother, I'm not wearing
Just
that.
you.
Yeah.
Just you.
I can't do that. Have you ever reluctantly done something like that?
A few times. I'm always quite selective with who I work with. Obviously, being my job, and I don't want to come across too salesy on my social media, which is kind of a hard thing when it is, you know, partly my income. But I've just set my base rate like to a place where, like, if you want to work with me, you want to work with me, and you kind of, you value my content enough to pay that. And yeah, some brands aren't keen, and I'm just like, yeah, that's okay, because I'm not keen to I'm not a billboard. I don't want to just chuck anything up there. So yeah, it's a bit hard at times, because sometimes the money's good, but the brand's probably not someone that you align with. And I've turned down fast food places in the past just because that doesn't really align with me. I try to share quite healthy lifestyle and family lifestyle, and my family and I promoting some fast food outlets just isn't the way. Even the money would be good, it's just long term it's not probably best for my brand.
And I think that speaks volumes to who you are. Like James was saying before, you're clearly a very genuine guy. Let's come back to the gym. So what is the gym? What inspired you to sort of go down that path in terms of a business? How's it looking? When does it open?
So we got we are getting the keys this week. We went through a walkthrough. The previous tenants had just moved out last week, so we went through there. But yeah, one of my best mates in Perth started a franchise, and it's just been going off over there. And when he said that he was coming across to Queensland, I was like, bro, I got to be involved. And that was kind of pretty much how it all started. And yeah, I've just always kind of been into that space. I think the amount of time I spend in the gym rebuilding my body has kind of got me to a place where I'm keen to help people on the fitness journey. And that's just from me just being in the gym and knowing how it makes me feel. And yeah, it's just a super cool concept. It's completely different to a lot of the gyms, and it's just completely out there. And when you look at me as a creative, you look at that gym and you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense that he's opening one of those. It just makes sense. It's super creative and just super out of the normal, which I love. So it's going to be interesting. It's obviously going to be a battle, starting a business, a gym on the Gold Coast, and as you guys would know, and that's just all part of the journey. And I'm just excited for launch, and then excited to get on the tools, and which I got no clue about, but I'll give it a go.
Nah, it's just confidence, bro.
Yeah,
I don't know how to use a drill, but if I show up with confidence, everyone's like, "Oh, this guy's handy." just don't look closely at the work.
Yeah. Don't look at my hands, because I've got the softest hands. You can tell that I've done no hard labor in my life.
Oh, you're telling me, brother.
Camera hands, man. Camera hands.
We're lucky. So here, I'm not very handy with the tools, and I don't want to say Thomas isn't, but he's not. And then so his business partner who owns the other gym, Zero Southside, whenever we need anything manly done around here, he has to come down and do it.
Oh, bro, it's just one of those things. You're like, should I do it? Like I feel like I can do it, but then you never know, because you don't want to have to do it twice.
Yeah, no. If you need a letter written, I'm your guy.
Yeah,
right.
Otherwise, nah.
I've tried my hand at a few things around here, but it's playing up. Like I drilled that thing in the toilet, and it fucking came off, and you had to get it patched up. And
yeah. Still right the first time, eh?
You know how to use the grinder? Yeah, I guess so. Just start fucking taking chips out the wall and
YouTube video playing like on your phone while you're doing
hard.
it as well.
And it's never the same. They make it look so easy all the time too. And I'm like, yeah, nah.
So I want to ask a question back to rugby before so we're kind of getting towards the end now. You played for over a decade. It was a huge part of your life. I can only relate to my personal experience in powerlifting. I've been powerlifting for 15 years. I'm still competing, but I can see the end of my competitive future. And I know for me that even once I stop competing, I'll still be in the gym and I'll still do powerlifting stuff. Is there any desire for you now that you're out of the game to play? Like, do you want to go play with mates on the weekend? Do you like kicking a ball around?
So I play touch every Wednesdays, and that's kind of my good little fix.
Okay.
The only thing I really miss, which I was saying before, was I miss the big crowds and the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing that beats, especially because we had, we averaged 30,000 people every week at Suncorp. So running out into that, and the atmosphere at Suncorp is just crazy. So there's just nothing that kind of lives up to that. Mm-hmm. So I do miss that. I do miss like the big moments, the big games, the test matches. I miss those really big games. Definitely don't miss the pre-seasons. But the only one thing I kind of want to really tick off my box is playing with my old man, because he still plays locally rugby union.
Oh, awesome.
So I want to play with him and my older brother. So if my older brother can get over here and we can have a game all together, that'll just kind of be the last tick of playing. Apart from my social touch games every Wednesday.
Do you have to turn it down? Like, are you like, oh, these plebs, I'll turn it down for them? Or are you just like, nah, I'm the boss out here?
It depends. It depends how much trash talk there is, I guess.
Okay.
I played in a League of Legends game not long ago, and I was the youngest by far, but there's like 50, 60-year-olds on my team, ex-NRL players, but from 20 years ago. And we were getting pumped. And then like after one of the tries, they kind of just looked at me like, "Come on, Jordy, turn it on now." So I went fullback and I was like, "All right, just give me the ball." And I think I ended up scoring like 5 tries, and we ended up getting in front. It was funny because like
You're a bully.
yeah.
Smashing the old guys, the 50-year-old
The
guys.
other team was like quite young. Like they weren't too old. Like the other team was probably like, I don't know. There was definitely 30-year-olds, same age as me, but my team was super old. And at the beginning, the first try, they kind of acted like they didn't care, and just that old competitive mindset started kicking in after every try. And the boys like, "Okay, boys, we gotta start." Like the boys, there was 3 of us that ran out before the game to warm up. The rest stayed in the sheds drinking piss. Like, bro, that's how like crazy it was. Like John Hopewadi played. Like there was like some old ass boys, Kevin Campion, some real old school footy players. But yeah, there was 3 of us that went out and warmed up, and the rest just drunk piss in the shit. So it was funny.
Kevin Campion, he's one bloke you'd never want to get into a scrap with, eh?
Nah, yeah, he's so old school tough, bro.
Oh, it's funny that you mentioned, that they have to tone it down a little bit. I've always found in my experience, like when I was younger and someone was coming back from, he was just playing in Jersey flag at the Raiders, we'd be like, yeah, sweet. He's got an X on his head.
Yeah,
we're trying to fucking take his head off. We're like, nah, fuck, he shouldn't have been there. We should have been there. When we find out that, he was playing NJC for, the Vulcans. He was playing for Auckland. It's like, nah, sweet. All right, rush out the line at him. They've always got an X on their head. Yeah. So even like when I was talking to PT and Normie and that, I'm like, do you guys want to play locally? And they're like, no, not really, because they they get battered. Yeah.
Get smoked. There's some real good money going around in those local leagues now. And yeah, but I've thought the same. Like, I don't want to go back and just get my head taken off.
Yeah, because
for fun.
Yeah, they're like, you've just got an X on your head. Like, he's an NRL player. I want to put a shot on an NRL player. Yeah, like they wear it like a badge of honor. Yeah, I fucking hit Jordan Kahu late.
Actual
late.
Yeah, late.
Dog shot at him
off.
Yeah,
and he went off. Yeah, definitely.
He went off.
I want to. We're wrapping up the podcast now. We want to.
Yeah. Any final? CJ even had said much. Any questions on your end?
You were saying how after everything wrapped up with the Broncos, you kind of held some animosity there, and you said that if you'd held onto it for too long, you wouldn't be able to build what you have now. What did you mean by that? Did you mean in the media stuff or the gym that you're opening, or?
I think it was just a mindset thing. I think it kind of just weighed me down to a point where I was just like why be angry? Like what's the point? Like me being angry wasn't going to affect them. Like, it was like the people that made me angry in the first place, they didn't even know I'm angry, So what's the point in holding on to that for me, It's only going to affect my family and the way I work and the way I deal with, clients, I think it was like just trying to look at the positives of it. Like, I never want to treat someone how I was treated. So all my clients, like I'll never treat them that way. If I got to a point where I needed to start hiring staff, I'd never treat them that way. So, I needed to let it go, and I think time really helped, as it does with a lot of things. And I just couldn't let it weigh me down any longer because it was just, there was no point really. There was no point at all, unless I went into the Broncos and kicked the doors down and said, "Yo, I want a sorry right now." I want someone to say sorry. That was never going to happen. So there was no point in holding on to it. And it was just, a waste of time kind of holding myself back.
Has a lot of your clientele, when you started doing videography, come through, I guess, like your contacts in the NRL?
A few contacts. like acquaintances I met through, kind of, I guess through footy, like Style Media. They booked me a lot. They actually hired Jess and I to be on their front cover while I was playing, and did a story about that. And then when they found out I was doing videography and they already enjoyed my, the stuff I was sharing, they kind of, continuously booked me after that. So yeah, a lot of it did come through me being who I was at the time, which was being good. And I've been lucky that, I've, put it out there on my social media channels, and that's where a lot of my work kind of comes, is through social media when they find out that I'm doing it. I think a lot of fans have booked me for weddings, footy fans, and I've got to the weddings and, like taking photos with people, and I've felt super uncomfortable, like I'm just like, I'm here to do the video, but like people are asking for photos, but yeah, it's a weird feeling, but I'm just super grateful that people want to book me, like I've built my brand, and I've stayed true to myself my whole career, that I'm not at the end of my career, clutching, trying to grasp all these opportunities where people kind of just respected me as a person enough to kind of book me.
Awesome.
Do you find, we're talking about, when we're talking about being a creative and how you can really second guess your work and it's never good enough, and I think I speak on behalf of all creatives that we all think the same.
Yeah.
And I think what it comes down to is just getting over yourself.
Yeah.
And even that's a battle every day when you're posting something or creating something new or doing a project for yourself or whatever. Have you found being a footy player first, being sprayed by the media, by keyboard warriors, and copying that and building a thick skin and building this kind of, I'll do what I want, I don't care. You're talking about people getting mad that you ruin their multis and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped now as a creative when you create content, and like not second guess yourself or think, oh, this isn't good enough, like, no, stuff it, like, I know my talent?
I think, like you said, a lot of creatives kind of always second guess their work, and perfect example is I don't know if you follow Moonboy Productions. They're like a gun team. They did this super hectic music video, and I was watching it, and I was just like blown away. But then I watched a podcast of them talking about that video, and they broke down so much things that they weren't happy with. And from outside looking in, just like there's nothing wrong with that at all. So I think it was like a lot of that those experiences I had when I was playing footy taught me a lot, and I feel like that's where a lot of players struggle going into business after footy, is because they think that they're so new to everything, but they've just applied themselves to one of the hardest sports in the whole world. You've got to be super professional, you've got to be super punctual, you've got to be all these things. You've got to do your research on players, and a lot of people like players think they're dumb when they finish footy, like they've got no experience at all. But kind of it's just a funny way of how to apply what you did for so long into different areas of your life. So I guess a lot of that tough skin kind of did translate into my career now.
Yeah, that's cool.
If that answers your question.
Yeah. I was just more curious in that sense. Like, I didn't play footy growing up. Not at that level, or anything like that. So, and I know a lot of creatives that are the same. We're wired that same way, where we think we're not good enough, and we tell each other, like, you're good, and we see each other's work and we're inspired by it. But us ourselves are like, oh, but I don't know. And even you're talking about weddings, and I'm the same. When I film weddings, it's exactly the same. Yeah. But for them, like, we film a wedding and we're like, oh, we should have shot that. I should have had this lens on when I did that shot. Should have shot at this frame rate, or wish the lighting was better. Wish I moved them. But the couple doesn't know that. No. And they're seeing a video of the happiest day of their life. Yeah. And so, of course, they're going to love it. But yeah, I just thought you've copped, like, literal being at your level. You're a target, especially with social media. And I was just curious to see if that helps with just backing yourself as a creative, because I think a lot more creatives we're wired to be more sensitive in a sense. Yeah, I found, and So it's harder for us to back ourselves, and we're more of a, the quiet type, if that makes sense. So I was wondering, if that has helped with the transition.
Yeah, it definitely has. I'm so grateful I've been able to kind of, push my skills into a whole different world. And I don't think I'll ever be happy with any piece of work ever, but it's kind of just getting it out there and sharing with the world, your talents, because there's no point keeping it on a hard drive at home. Like anything at life, you got to get out there. If you inspire one person to be better, or in anything, if you inspire one person to start creating, or you inspire one person to go to gym, you never know how many people are going to be inspired by them. So the list is just endless. If you hold it in, then it's not really helping anyone, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Toughest player you've played with, toughest player you've played against?
Against GI easily in his prime. And the toughest player I've played with.
Just for context, Alex Glenn said Benny Hunt and Darren Lockyer.
Did he?
Yeah.
What played? He hasn't played against.
Nah, they're the toughest he's played with.
Oh, played with, yeah. Played with. I played with some. At the Bronx years. I'd probably say Benny Hunt too.
Yeah.
Bro just turns up.
Yeah.
He just turns up, like, no matter what he's going for. I remember this one time he scored a try and tore his hammy, but the bro, like, off the bone, like, gone off the bone. Bro tried to keep playing.
That's what Lexi said.
Yeah.
Lexi said the same story.
Bro, like, ridiculous. Like, and you just know he's going to be there for you. He was the best halfback to defend that side, because if you get done up by your center, you kind of know he's there. Like,
He's the most trustworthy halfback defender I've ever seen.
easily, bro. He's king of hustle. We used to play these little micro ball games outside of our changing rooms, and the bro's just everywhere. Super busy, bro. Just everywhere. King of hustle.
It's weird because he's not that much bigger than me. He's probably 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just fucking tough as nails, eh? Even in that last Origin game, he was like the guy that kind of swung the momentum.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
I just got a few more questions. All right. You have to punch one and start a fight with.
All right.
David Clemmer.
Punch one.
So you gotta either punch David Clemmer, Paul Gallen, or Tino Fa'asumalawi.
I'm not starting a fight with Gal, bro. There's no way. So I'm meant to punch the other two?
Yeah. Who are you
Yeah.
punching?
I'm punching the other two, and
Which one?
I'm fighting Tino.
Yeah?
And then I'm jabbing Gal. Running away.
He's scary, eh?
Yeah, bro.
Was he scary to play against?
Yeah, I didn't really have to come across him because he was always in the
In the
middle.
middle.
But he's just like an engine, bro. Just like, you seen him when he fights. Like, you don't want to go in the ring with him. He just will keep coming.
So he, Thomas, Mark Hunt?
Yeah.
He beat Mark Hunt in a boxing match.
Yeah.
Far out.
Yeah. He's
like
fuck.
he played till he was like 40 or something, bro. He's ridiculous.
He's undefeated as well, in boxing.
Nah, he lost to
His last fight.
Hooney. Did he play?
Oh,
Did he fight Hooney?
That's right. But fuck, I can't believe he even went the distance with him.
Yeah.
Hooney's he got knocked out, didn't he? Didn't they stop it?
Nah. He's
Oh,
never
they
been
didn't.
knocked out. He's never been stopped.
Yeah, bro. He's sick, man.
He's got that steel jaw.
Yeah.
Bro, actual. That's why I wouldn't go in there with him, because then you get bashed. You get bashed. I'd rather be. Yeah, definitely not fighting him.
You're inviting 3 people to dinner. Who are they?
MJ. I've always said that. MJ.
Michael Jackson.
Nah, I can't. He's gone. Dead or alive?
Yeah, dead or alive.
Okay. Well, Michael Jordan. That's who I was named after. And I just love everything he's about. Michael Jordan. Maybe Serena Williams, and I don't know, Elon Musk maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah, just like 2 sports players and a businessman.
Nice.
Just, learn about, MJ's done all the sports and the business side, which would be super cool to kind of learn off. Serena's just a beast. And I'd love to hear her mindset. And then Elon Musk, I just love to hear. He's just super alternative as well.
He's
Just
a tripper,
super
eh?
wacky, yeah.
Very.
So I'd love to, hear some of his thoughts.
You're on death row. What's your last meal?
Oh, bro, I'm super plain, I like real boring shit. Probably, can it be like baking?
Yeah,
My mum's Weet-Bix slice. She makes a killer Weet-Bix slice.
that's a classic.
Yeah, it's got to be a mum's meal.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything my mum makes, to be honest, that'd be definitely my last meal.
Nice.
All right, I got one thing to finish off the podcast. Then I want to hear about your first, like that first moment walking onto the pitch in your professional game.
Bro, like the 2015 grand final, it was kind of a bit of a blur because you're just adrenaline's just going through the roof. But I remember running out, and I always did this scream when I ran out. Like I always just, I don't know, it was weird.
Do it now.
Looking back now, like I always try to hide it too. So I'd always like have a quick look at the like big screen and make sure I'm not on the big screen because I didn't want anyone to know about it. Sometimes I'd look at the ground and just do it. So I remember letting that out, and then the next thing I remember was missing a tackle and they scored, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like this is the best of the best right now. Like I can't be. I was kind of like just paddling, like I was kind of just like letting things happen and me just being there. Like it was like I was watching a movie, but I was out there. I wasn't. And then like after I got scored on, I was like, "Fuck! I'm gonna like this is real life. I gotta fucking turn up or I'm gonna never play ever again." So I just remember that kind of moment, and it was probably more the lead up to the game, which was like something I remember the most was just like just being able to go out there and represent all the pain I'd gone through the first 2 years of doing my ACL, and also representing my family and my friends and my parents after the years and years of taking me to trainings and taking me to train before school and just bringing balls back and chasing balls for hours for me and just repaying them and knowing how they felt seeing me on that field. That's definitely something I was thinking about before I ran out there.
Awesome.
That's cool.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, brother. We really appreciate it, especially on such short notice. My lapse and our miscommunication. But yeah, we've really enjoyed our time getting to know you a little bit better, and I'm sure our listeners are going to really enjoy this one.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, boys.
Thanks, brother.
Sure.
Thank you so much for listening to the ZeroW Podcast. If you want more information, head to our Instagram, ZeroW_weakness. Hit the link in the bio for all of our services and any information on upcoming workshops and events. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review so we can have a broader reach and answer more people's questions. Thank you once more.